The twin suns of Arcanus Prime were sinking below the horizon. The skies were painted red and gold, but no one admired the beauty. Smoke from burning cities rose into the air, turning the sunset into a scene of sorrow. The Arcanians, once a peaceful race of scholars and builders, were hiding in their homes, waiting for the Drexian Empire to strike again. The Drexians had been attacking for weeks. Their warships blotted out the sky, and their soldiers marched through towns without mercy. The Arcanians were not warriors. They had no real armies, only guards to keep order in their cities. When the Drexians arrived, the guards fought bravely, but they were no match for the invaders. Every battle ended the same way, with more bodies on the ground and more families taken away in chains. In the central city of Vera, the last free stronghold on Arcanus Prime, the Council of Elders gathered in the Great Hall. The hall had once been a place of music and celebration, filled with laughter and light. Now it was dim, cold, and filled with fear. Elder Sareth, the oldest of the council, stood at the center table. His white hair hung loose over his shoulders, and his eyes carried the weight of too many sorrows. "The Drexians are pressing closer," he said in a tired voice. "Our scouts say they will reach the city within 2 days." A murmur spread through the council. Some elders lowered their heads, others clenched their fists. Elder Kalor, younger and fiercer, slammed his hand against the table.
"Then we fight!"
"We cannot surrender this city. We cannot let them enslave our children." Another elder, soft-voiced, whispered, "But we have nothing left. Our weapons are broken, our walls are weak, and our people are starving. How can we fight against warships that fall from the sky?" Kalor's voice rose in anger. "If we surrender, we are already dead. At least if we fight, we show the Drexians we are not cowards." The debate raged on, voices echoing in the hall. But Sareth did not join. His gaze was fixed on the high windows where the stars were beginning to appear. He remembered the old stories. Tales told by travelers and traders who once visited their peaceful world. Stories of a species that lived far away on a blue and green planet called Earth. Humans, they were called. They were said to be strange, restless, reckless, always pushing into the unknown. Some said humans fought each other constantly, yet always found ways to rise stronger. No one had ever seen them here. The galaxy believed Earth was too distant, too weak to matter. But Sareth still remembered the words of one wandering scholar. "When darkness falls and no one else dares, look to the humans. They are the ones who will come." The old elder sighed. It was only a story, and stories did not stop armies. That night, in the streets of Vera, families gathered around fires. Children clung to their parents, asking if the Drexians would come tomorrow. Mothers tried to soothe them with soft words, though their eyes were filled with fear. Fathers sharpened farming tools into crude spears, knowing they would break against Drexian armor. In one small home, a young girl named Lyra sat with her grandfather. She was only 12, her hair braided neatly by her mother, her eyes wide and curious. "Grandfather," she whispered, "why does no one come to help us? Does the galaxy not care?" Her grandfather, an old stone carver with cracked hands, touched her cheek gently. "The galaxy fears the Drexians. No one dares to stand against them." Lyra's lip trembled. Then we will all die?" The old man's voice was steady, though his heart was heavy. "Maybe, but even if we fall, we must remember who we are. The Drexians cannot take our spirit unless we let them." Lyra looked out the window at the night sky. The stars sparkled cold and distant. She whispered a prayer to them, though she did not know if anyone would hear. The next day, the Drexian fleet came into view. Their warships were black and sharp, shaped like blades tearing through the heavens. The people of Vera crowded the city walls, staring in terror. The Drexians' arrival was always the same: bombardment from the sky, then soldiers pouring through the ruins. But this time, something strange happened. A small group of scouts rushed into the city shouting breathlessly, "We saw something in the upper atmosphere. Strange ships shining fast unlike Drexian craft." The council gathered quickly. "What did you see?" demanded Kalor. The scouts' eyes were wide. They were not Drexian. Their designs were different, sleek, silver, with markings I could not read. They moved like hawks cutting through the sky. "I swear they were chasing the Drexian vessels." Gasps filled the hall. Could it be another empire? But who would dare fight the Drexians? Sareth leaned forward, his old hands trembling. "Did you see their symbol? Any colors?" The scout hesitated. "I saw a circle divided into blue and white, and stars, Many stars, Sareth's heart skipped. He knew that symbol, though only from an ancient book. The crest of Earth's defenders, the humans. But could it be real? Could the stories be true? That night the skies above Arcanus burned with fire. Drexian ships descended, their cannons glowing with deadly light. The people of Vera cried out, preparing for the end. The council gathered in the great hall once more, debating whether to send a surrender message. Then the first blast struck, but not from the Drexians. From above the clouds, brilliant lances of blue light tore through the night. Drexian warships shuddered as explosions ripped across their hulls. The people below watched in shock as silver ships streaked down like comets, their engines roaring. They were smaller than Drexian cruisers, but they moved faster, more precise. One Drexian ship tried to break away. A silver craft pursued, locking weapons. In seconds, the Drexian vessel erupted in a ball of flame, falling into the ocean below. The city erupted in cheers and cries of disbelief. "Who are they?" shouted voices in the streets. "Who dares to fight the Drexians?" Elder Sareth whispered the answer, his eyes wet with tears. "Humans." For the first time in weeks, hope spread through Vera. The Drexians had met resistance. And though no one yet knew who these humans truly were, one truth echoed in every heart. They were not alone anymore. The dawn came with trembling light over Vera. The smoke of the previous night still hung above the city. The people had not slept. They had stayed awake on rooftops and towers, staring at the heavens. They had seen the impossible. Ships not belonging to the Drexians had fallen from the stars. These silver, hawk-like craft had danced around the Drexian cruisers, firing with deadly speed. For the first time in living memory, Drexian ships had burned. No one could believe it. Some thought it a dream. Others feared it was a trick. But the fire in the skies was real, and the wreckage of Drexian vessels smoldered in the oceans to the east. In the council hall, the elders argued once again. "They cannot be trusted," one elder said sharply. "What if they are just another empire seeking to conquer us after the Drexians?" "Then why fight the Drexians?" Kaler shot back. "Why throw themselves into battle for a world so weak as ours?" Elder Sareth stood quietly at the window. His old eyes searched the skies where faint trails of fire marked the paths of the strange ships. He spoke softly, but all turned to listen. "They are human." The word carried weight, even to those who had only heard of the species in rumors. Humans, the restless travelers, the stubborn fighters, the people who never gave up. The galaxy spoke of them as dangerous, unpredictable, but also fearless, and now they had come. In the streets below, people gathered in crowds. Farmers, craftsmen, mothers carrying their children. They all gazed upward, pointing at the new shapes breaking through the clouds. The humans were coming down. Dark streaks cut across the sky. At first, the Arcanians thought they were falling meteors blazing with fire. But as they drew closer, their shapes grew clear. Dropships, armored vessels built for war. Their engines roared like thunder, rattling windows and shaking the ground. "They fall like burning stars," cried a boy, clutching his mother's arm. The ship slowed at the last moment, their thrusters screaming as they hovered above the city walls. And then, with precise movements, they descended. The ground shook as their landing struts slammed into the earth. The crowd gasped. The hatches opened. From within, figures marched out, tall, armored, their bodies covered in suits of metal that gleamed silver and black. Helmets with glowing visors hid their faces. Rifles and weapons hung at their sides. They moved in perfect order, every step in rhythm, every motion disciplined. The Arcanians had never seen such soldiers. Whispers filled the air. "They are not Drexians. They are different. They came to help us." Children stared in awe. Men and women felt both fear and hope. The strangers seemed like gods of war. One of the armored figures stepped forward. His armor was marked with blue, and on his shoulder shone the crest the scout had described, a circle, divided into white and blue with stars. He lifted his helmet, revealing a face unlike theirs but still familiar. Human. His skin was pale, his hair short and dark, his eyes sharp but kind. When he spoke, his voice carried strength. "People of Arcanus," he said, his words translated through a device on his chest echoing in their tongue. "You are not alone. We are soldiers of Earth. We come to stand with you." A silence fell. Then slowly the crowd erupted. Cheers, tears, cries of joy filled the air. Some fell to their knees, overwhelmed. Others reached out hands as if to touch the miracle. Elder Sereth whispered, his voice trembling with emotion. The stories were true. The Drexians did not wait long to answer. From the horizon, their war horns sounded. Deep blasts carried through the air by amplifiers. Their ground armies marched toward Vera, black armor glinting under the suns. War beasts roared beside them, monstrous creatures bred for battle. Above, Drexian skimmers flew low, preparing to strike. The humans did not hesitate. Orders rang out in their strange tongue. Soldiers spread into formation. Some climbed the walls, planting heavy weapons. Others crouched on the ground, setting up turrets that unfolded like steel flowers. Engineers worked quickly, laying out devices that hummed with energy. The Arcanians watched in awe. Everything was precise, every move practiced. These were not desperate fighters with crude tools. These were warriors who had faced war many times before. Kalor, who had always shouted for resistance, felt tears sting his eyes. So this is what real soldiers look like. The first Drexian wave struck. Beams of red light shot from their skimmers, scorching the city walls. Drexian infantry rushed forward, weapons blazing. The people of Vera screamed. Then the humans answered. From the walls, heavy cannons roared, spitting bolts of blue fire. Drexian soldiers fell, their armor cracking under the impact. Turrets unleashed storms of projectiles, cutting through advancing lines. Human rifles sang, each shot precise, each movement steady. The Arcanians could not believe their eyes. The humans fought like a storm, controlled, unstoppable. Where Drexians advanced in brute force, the humans answered with skill and speed. One Arcanian farmer, clutching his wooden spear, whispered, "They fight as if this is nothing new to them, as if war is their nature." In the chaos, a group of Drexians unleashed their beasts, massive reptilian creatures with jaws that could crush stone. They charged, shaking the ground, but the humans were ready. A squad of armored warriors knelt, pulling long weapons from their backs. With a crack of light, rockets streaked through the air. Explosions lit the battlefield as the beasts fell, writhing in fire. The Arcanians cheered wildly. For the first time, Drexian terror was met with something stronger. Yet the Drexians were not so easily broken. Their warlord, a towering brute clad in spiked armor, stepped onto the field. He raised his blade and roared, his voice carrying across the plain. No one defies the Drexian Empire. Not Arcanians, not humans. The humans did not falter. One of their commanders, the man with the blue crest, lifted his rifle and shouted back. His words translated for all to hear. "Then remember this day, Drexian. Remember that when you came to break the weak, Earth stood in your way." With a signal, the humans surged forward. Their charge was like thunder, their weapons flashing. Drexians met them with roars, blades clashing against rifles, plasma against steel. The battle turned fierce, brutal. The Arcanians, inspired by what they saw, could no longer stand back. Kalor raised his voice. "To the walls! To the fight!" And for the first time, the people of Arcanus lifted their crude weapons and fought beside their rescuers. Farmers with spears, craftsmen with hammers, youths with slings. They joined the humans, striking wherever they could. The humans did not push them away. Instead, they guided them, covering their weaknesses, showing them where to strike. In that moment, Arcanus was no longer just prey. They were part of the battle. Hours passed. The fields outside Vera were covered in smoke, fire, and wreckage. Drexian bodies lay scattered, their war machines burning. The humans held strong, their lines unbroken. At last, the Drexians began to retreat. Their warlord, wounded, bellowed in rage as his forces pulled back toward the hills. Their skimmers rose into the sky, fleeing the deadly aim of human guns. The city of Vera still stood. The people poured into the streets, shouting with joy, embracing one another. Children danced, mothers wept. Fathers raised their fists to the sky. They had survived, not because of luck, but because someone had come. At the center of the square, the human commander removed his helmet. His face was weary but calm. He looked at the Arcanians, their eyes shining with gratitude. "We are soldiers of Earth," he said again, "but we are also your allies now. The Drexians will return stronger than before, and when they do, we will be ready, together." The crowd roared with cheers. For the first time, hope did not feel like a dream. It was real, standing before them in steel and flesh, and above them, the human ships circled in the skies, guardians against the darkness. That night, as the fires of battle faded, Elder Sereth stood on the wall beside Kalor. The old man's eyes were wet with tears. "Do you see?" he whispered. The galaxy told us no one would come, that we were too small, too weak, too forgotten, but they were wrong. Kalor nodded, his voice fierce. Yes, Earth has come. The morning after the great battle, the city of Vera stirred with new life. For the first time in weeks, the people did not wake to despair. Instead, they woke to hope. Children ran through the streets carrying scraps of metal and burned Drexian armor as trophies. Women tended to the wounded, not with silent tears but with songs of courage. Men repaired broken walls, their hands strong and steady. But above all, the people spoke of the humans. They fought like fire, one farmer told his neighbors. They stood like iron walls, a mother whispered to her child. They are not gods, an elder reminded them, but they are warriors who came when no one else dared. At the city gates, human soldiers worked tirelessly. Their machines whirred, repairing defenses. Their engineers placed strange devices along the walls, glowing with steady blue light. Every movement was precise, every order followed with discipline. The Arcanians watched, learning silently. For the first time, they saw what a true army looked like, not just fighters, but builders, planners, protectors. Elder Sereth walked beside the human commander, whose name was Captain Elias Kane. Kane's armor bore marks from the battle, but his stance remained firm. His eyes never stopped scanning the horizon, as if he carried the weight of 100 unseen dangers. You saved us, Sereth said softly. Kane shook his head. No, you saved yourselves. We gave you a chance, but it was your people who stood and fought when it mattered. Sereth's lips curved in the faintest smile. You speak with humility. But I know the truth. Without you, Vera would be ash. Kane did not argue. He simply turned his gaze to the east, where smoke still rose from Drexian camps. The enemy is not finished. They lost a battle, not the war. They will come again. And next time they will come stronger. His words proved true. Far beyond the hills in the Drexian command fortress, Warlord Gorthan seethed with fury. His massive frame towered over his officers as he smashed his fist onto the metal table. Humans, he roared, his deep voice shaking the chamber. Insignificant creatures from a forgotten world. They dare to challenge the Drexian Empire? One officer bowed low. They fight with strange tactics, Warlord. Fast, unpredictable. They strike from the air, from the shadows. They are not like other prey. Gorthan's eyes blazed. Then we will crush them harder. Prepare the beasts. Ready the siege walkers. Send word to the fleet. Bring down fire until nothing remains of that city. The officers bowed, trembling. None dared question him. 2 nights later, the ground shook as Drexian reinforcements approached. Siege walkers, towering machines of iron and flame, moved on massive legs. Behind them marched thousands of Drexian soldiers, armored and relentless. Above, heavy warships broke through the clouds, their cannons glowing with deadly light. The people of Vera trembled once more. Could even the humans withstand this? Captain Kane called his soldiers to formation. His voice was calm, steady, cutting through fear like a blade. We will not break. We will not fall. Remember, we fight not only for victory but to show the enemy we cannot be crushed. Hold the line, his soldiers answered as one. Yes, sir. The Arcanians, standing nearby with their crude weapons, looked at each other. For a moment they hesitated. Then Kalor raised his spear. If they can face death without fear, so can we. To the walls! The people followed, voices rising with new strength. The battle began with thunder. Drexian cannons fired from the hills. Great bolts of fire crashing into the city walls. Towers crumbled, flames burst and smoke filled the air, but the humans were ready. Energy shields flickered to life, absorbing blasts that would have destroyed stone. Artillery roared from the walls, striking the Drexian lines. Guided rockets streaked into the sky, colliding with enemy ships in bursts of flame. Then the siege walkers advanced. Their massive legs shook the earth, each step crushing the ground. Their cannons glowed as they charged for destruction. Captain Kane raised his arm. Target walkers, fire! Heavy weapons unleashed a storm. Missiles streaked, striking the walkers' legs. Explosions ripped through iron joints. One walker stumbled, crashing to the earth with a thunderous roar. The Arcanians cheered wildly, but more walkers pressed on. The humans fought fiercely, yet the Drexians' numbers seemed endless. For every soldier that fell, 2 more took his place. Amid the chaos, Kane made a decision. He gathered a squad of his best fighters. The enemy command ship directs their attack. If we cut it down, the battle will turn. Elder Sereth overheard. His voice trembled. But it is impossible. The ship is guarded and the skies are filled with Drexian fire. Kane's eyes hardened. Impossible is only a word. We'll find a way. With that, he and his squad moved quickly to a waiting dropship. The Arcanians watched as the engines flared, carrying the humans into the storm above. The sky was chaos. Drexian warships filled the heavens, firing in endless streams. Human fighters darted between them, swift and daring, weaving like hawks through a forest of fire. Kane's dropship dodged blasts, shaking violently. His soldiers gripped their weapons steady despite the danger. "Target ahead," the pilot called. Drexian command ship dead center. The vessel loomed like a beast of iron, bristling with guns. Shields shimmered around it, strong enough to repel any attack. Kane's eyes narrowed. "Bring us close. We'll take it from inside." The pilot hesitated. "Sir, that's suicide. Do it." The dropship surged forward, weaving through cannon fire. At the last moment, it smashed into the command ship's hull. The humans burst out, blasting through corridors filled with Drexian guards. The fighting was brutal. Drexians were larger, stronger, but the humans were faster, cleverer. They moved as one, covering each other, never hesitating. Every corner became a battlefield. Every step forward was earned in blood. Finally, they reached the reactor chamber. The core pulsed with energy, powering the ship and coordinating the attack. Kane planted explosives around the chamber. His soldiers covered him, firing without pause. "Charges set," he shouted. "Move!" They ran, racing through corridors as alarms blared. Drexians pursued, roaring with rage. The humans fought every step, retreating with precision. The dropship clung to the hull, waiting. The squad leapt aboard as the charges detonated. A blinding explosion tore through the command ship. Fire spread across its body, consuming it from within. The mighty vessel shuddered, then split apart, crashing in flames toward the ground. On the battlefield below, Drexian lines faltered. Soldiers stumbled, their command broken. Their siege walkers slowed, unsure. The humans and Arcanians struck with fury. Blades, rifles, hammers, and cannons tore through Drexian ranks. The enemy, once unstoppable, began to retreat. Cheers rose from Vera's walls. The impossible had happened. The Drexian command ship had fallen. When the battle ended, the field outside the city was littered with wreckage. Drexian dead lay among their shattered machines. Human soldiers stood tall, bloodied but unbroken. Arcanians, weary yet proud, leaned on their weapons, realizing they had survived what once seemed hopeless. In the square, Captain Kane addressed both peoples. His voice was strong, carrying through the crowd. "Today we showed the Drexians their strength is not infinite. Today we proved that courage and unity can shatter even their might. But this is only the beginning. They will come again, and they will come harder. If we stand divided, we will fall. But if we stand together, humans and Arcanians, we will rise." The crowd roared with approval. For the first time, Arcanians did not see themselves as helpless. They had fought, and they had helped win. Elder Sereth whispered to Kalor, his eyes shining. "Do you see it? They are teaching us not just to survive, but to fight back, to believe." Kalor nodded, gripping his spear tightly. "Yes, and I will never again bow to the Drexians." That night, the fires of victory lit the city. Songs rose into the air, songs not of mourning but of defiance. The sun rose over Vera, painting the city in golden light. The smoke from the previous battle still lingered, but the people were not afraid. Instead, they worked, repaired, and trained. Captain Kane walked through the city streets with his squad, inspecting the fortifications and speaking to the Arcanians. The humans moved with calm purpose, but their eyes were always alert, scanning the horizon. Every movement had a plan, every action a reason. Kalor followed closely behind, eager to learn. "How do you fight like that?" he asked. "Your soldiers, they are incredible." Kane smiled faintly. "It is not just fighting. It is preparation, discipline, and trust. You fight with heart, but you also need strategy. Today we won because we were ready, not because we were lucky." Kalor nodded, absorbing every word. "Teach us then. Teach us everything." Kane placed a hand on his shoulder. "We will, but first you must understand something. Fighting is not enough. You must learn to stand together. Unite your people, and only then will you be strong." The Arcanians began training under the humans' guidance. Soldiers were drilled in formations. Villagers learned basic combat tactics, and even children were taught how to hide, escape, and signal danger. It was a new way of life, but one the people embraced with hope. At the city gates, a group of humans demonstrated how to use energy shields, setting up barriers that could stop Drexian fire. Arcanians watched carefully, then tried it themselves. At first they fumbled, shields wobbling and falling. But the humans were patient, correcting mistakes and showing the right techniques. By the end of the day, the people of Vera had changed. They were no longer just frightened villagers. They were warriors in training, their confidence growing with each passing hour. Meanwhile, scouts sent by the humans had returned from nearby worlds. Their reports were grim. Other species, enslaved and oppressed by the Drexians, lived in fear and isolation. Many had resisted in secret only to be crushed. Few had hope left. Kane called a meeting in the city hall. The Arcanians crowded in, curious to hear what the humans planned. "We do not fight alone," Kane said, spreading a holographic map across the table. Blue and white markers showed human ships. Red dots indicated Drexian forces and yellow symbols marked oppressed worlds. "Our plan is simple," Kane continued. "We show the galaxy that resistance is possible. We will reach out to nearby species and help them rise against the Drexians. Each free world adds strength. Each ally strengthens the next. This is not just your fight, it is a galactic movement." The Arcanians listened in awe. Never had they imagined that their small world could become part of something so vast. The next few days were a whirlwind. Human ships left Vera in stealth, carrying messages, supplies, and weapons to distant worlds. Meanwhile, human soldiers trained the Arcanians in real battlefield techniques. Kalor learned quickly. He practiced with human squads, learning to coordinate attacks, set traps, and use terrain to his advantage. Lyra, the young girl who had once clung to her grandfather in fear, now ran drills with other children, learning to send signals, avoid danger, and help in small but crucial ways. Sareth watched them all, a proud smile on his face. "They are learning more than survival," he said to Kane. "They are learning courage, skill, and hope." Kane nodded. "Exactly. If the Arcanians fight like they have spirit, not just weapons, the Drexians will never truly defeat them." Yet, even as the humans and Arcanians prepared, the Drexians were planning their return. Warlord Gorthan's fury had grown with every setback. Losing his command ship and seeing his forces falter had ignited a fire of vengeance in him. He summoned his generals. "These humans are clever," he growled. "They teach weakness to those we intend to conquer. Enough. Prepare the Black Fleet. Crush Vera, enslave its people, and show the galaxy the power of Drexia." One officer hesitated. "Warlord, the humans," Gorthan's roar silenced him. "Do not speak of them. Only fear and death will teach these fools." And so the Black Fleet gathered, a massive force unlike anything Arcanis had seen before. Ships bristling with weapons, armies reinforced, and beasts trained for war, they came bringing doom with every mile. The humans, however, had not been idle. Kane and his team had coordinated a network of sensors, early warning systems, and hidden ambushes across the hills surrounding Vera. They had studied Drexian tactics and anticipated their moves. At dawn, when the fleet arrived, the Arcanians were ready. From hidden turrets, energy beams flared, striking the first wave of Drexian skimmers. Mines exploded under armored columns. Human squads moved like shadows, striking from unexpected directions. The Arcanians fought beside them, no longer merely defending but taking the fight to the enemy. Farmers with spears flanked human soldiers, using traps to disable machines. Artisans operated turrets with precision they had never dreamed of. Every Drexian advance met resistance. Every attack faltered. In the chaos, Kane's team spotted the enemy commanders coordinating the fleet from a distant ridge. If they could disrupt the command line, the battle could turn decisively. "We go again," Kane said. "A small team will strike the command post. The rest hold the line." Lyra, now older in courage than her years, watched as the human squad departed. She whispered to Kalor, "They are fearless, and so must we be." Kalor tightened his grip on his spear. "We will not fail them." The strike team moved with silent precision, weaving through enemy lines, dodging fire and avoiding detection. Drexian forces, expecting a frontal assault, did not see them slip through shadows, planting explosives and sabotaging communications. Within hours, the Drexian commanders were forced to retreat, confused and disorganized. Their massive Black Fleet faltered, leaving their troops exposed to the human and Arcanian counterattacks. By nightfall, the battle was over. The Drexians had retreated, leaving behind wreckage and bodies. Vera still stood stronger than before. Captain Kane addressed the Arcanians in the city square. "You have done more than survive," he said. "You have fought, learned, and stood together. Today you proved that even small worlds can defy the greatest empire. But remember, this is only the beginning. The Drexians will return. But now you are ready." The Arcanians cheered, their voices rising like a storm. Children danced in the streets. Soldiers clasped hands with humans. The city had been transformed not only in stone and steel but in spirit. Elder Sereth approached Kane. "You have not only saved us but awakened something in our people. We will not forget this. We will not bow to fear," Kane smiled. "That is what we came for. The Drexians believe fear controls the galaxy. We show them courage does." The sun had not yet risen when the horizon of Vera glowed red. Smoke from distant fires streaked the skies. The city, which had endured so many attacks, stood ready. Soldiers lined the walls and human engineers checked every turret, every shield, and every weapon. Captain Kane walked along the ramparts, his armor scratched from the previous battles. He paused to watch the Arcanians, men, women, even older children, moving with purpose. They no longer ran in fear. They now carried spears, shields, and makeshift weapons with confidence. "They have grown strong," Kane said quietly to Sergeant Lyra, his second in command. Lyra nodded. "They fight like warriors now, not like frightened villagers. Today we do more than defend. They will see what freedom looks like." Far above, human ships patrolled the skies, engines humming, wings spread wide like silver hawks. The Arcanians could hear them, feel their presence, and draw courage from it. For the first time, they believed the impossible could be achieved. On the horizon, the Drexian Black Fleet appeared, stretching further than the eye could see. Warlord Gorthan had brought everything, the heaviest warships, the largest siege walkers, and troops that had crushed entire worlds. The Drexian horns sounded, a deep, terrifying roar that shook the ground and chilled the hearts of all below. The Arcanians gripped their weapons, fear mingling with determination. Kane stepped forward, his voice carrying across the walls. "Today they believe they can destroy us. Today they think fear rules the galaxy. But we know better. We are not just fighters, we are united. And together we will not fall." The Arcanians cheered, their voices carrying across the hills. Even those who had once quivered in fear now lifted their heads high. Kalor raised his spear. "For Arcanus. For freedom!" Lyra, standing beside him, waved a small flag she had made with her friends. "For hope," she cried. The battle began with a thunderous roar. Drexian ships fired upon the city, sending columns of fire across the walls. Siege walkers advanced, stomping through the fields. War beasts roared, their eyes glinting with hunger, but the humans were ready. Energy shields flared, absorbing blasts that would have shattered stone. Turrets roared with blue fire. Soldiers moved like shadows, striking with precision, avoiding traps, and turning the battlefield into a deadly maze for the enemy. The Arcanians fought beside them. Farmers flanked human squads, using cunning traps and terrain to disable Drexian machines. Children relayed signals from hidden vantage points. Elder Sereth directed reinforcements with calm authority. Inspired by the humans' discipline, for the first time, the Drexians were not merely attacking, they were being countered, disrupted at every turn. Amid the chaos, Kane spotted Gorthan's personal warship hovering above the battlefield. The warlord himself directed the troops, his spiked armor gleaming in the sunlight. "They must fall," Kane said. "If we strike him down, the enemy will break." He called a strike team, human warriors experienced in infiltration and sabotage. Kalor and a group of Arcanians volunteered to assist, knowing this could turn the tide. Together they moved stealthily across the battlefield, using smoke, fire, and ruined buildings for cover. They avoided patrols, dodged cannons, and climbed the debris of fallen siege walkers. Finally, they reached the base of Gorthan's ship. It hovered slightly above the ground, powered by engines that shook the earth. Kane signaled, "Charge!" The team stormed forward, blasters and rifles firing. Drexian guards tried to stop them, but humans and Arcanians fought as one. Precision, courage, and unity allowed them to breach the ship's defenses. Inside, the warlord awaited, massive and terrifying. He swung a heavy blade, each strike like a thunderbolt. Kane ducked, fired, and coordinated with his team. Kalor struck with his spear, guided by human timing. Lyra, though small, hurled energy grenades that disrupted the warlord's footing. It was chaos, brutal and fast. But the team moved with purpose. Every Drexian strike was countered. Every human and Arcanian attack weakened the warlord's defense. Finally, Kane saw an opening.
Now!
He shouted. A coordinated attack struck Gorthan from 3 directions. His armor shattered, his roar ended in a strangled cry, and the warlord fell to the ground. The command ship shuddered, its engines faltering. Explosions spread through its hull. It crashed with a deafening roar into the plains below, sending shockwaves across the battlefield. Below, the Drexian forces faltered. Confused and leaderless, their lines broke. Siege walkers stumbled, troops scattered, and war beasts fled in panic. Humans pressed forward, and Arcanians followed. The once powerful Drexian army had been shattered. Kaelor, running alongside human squads, shouted with joy. "We did it. They are falling!" Lyra laughed, her voice ringing across the field. "We are free!" As the sun climbed higher, Vera stood victorious. The city was battered, but the people were alive, unbroken, and filled with new strength. Human ships landed among them, carrying supplies, medical teams, and messages of hope for other worlds. Captain Kane addressed the Arcanians in the square, his armor scorched, his face weary but proud. "Today, you showed the Drexians that courage cannot be crushed," he said. "Today you proved that unity is stronger than fear. But remember, the galaxy is vast and tyranny is not gone. There are other worlds suffering, other species enslaved. We will not stop here. We will take this lesson of hope to the stars, and together we will fight until freedom reaches every corner." The crowd erupted in cheers. Children waved flags, parents embraced, soldiers clasped each other's hands. Vera was no longer just a city. It was a symbol of defiance, a beacon of hope for the galaxy. Elder Sareth stepped forward, his voice strong. "The humans have not only saved us, but shown us our own strength. We will not forget this day. We will not forget those who fell. And we will fight for freedom, alongside those who have come to our aid." Kane placed a hand on Sareth's shoulder. "The galaxy will remember, Arcanus, but more importantly, it will remember what courage and unity can achieve. You have all earned your place among the free." In the following weeks, the Arcanians rebuilt their city with human help. Training camps were established, new fortifications built, and strategies prepared for the next attack. Human ships patrolled nearby planets, contacting other oppressed species. Allies were gathered. Small rebellions grew into coordinated movements. The story of Vera spread across the stars. Planets whispered the tale. When the humans came, a small world rose against an empire and survived. Fear of Earth's warriors spread among tyrants, and hope spread among the oppressed. Kaelor stood on the wall one evening, watching the sunset. Lyra joined him, her small hand in his. "Do you think they will come again?" she asked. Kaelor shook his head, smiling. "Let them come. We are no longer alone. We fight together, and together we are strong." Above them, human ships glimmered in the sky, silent guardians, ready to strike at tyranny wherever it rose. The galaxy was waking to a new reality. No one had believed that help would come. No one had believed Earth's warriors would descend from the stars, but now they had.